What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talk About Transformers. This was a very surprising episode. I was originally going to do somebody else, but last night after I got out of work, my very loving wife surprised me with this set that I was not expecting to get because I didn't think I was going to find it in person and I wasn't going to order it online. But she found it, got it at a discount, using some points and stuff, and now we have it to review. I did take it out of the box already because I wanted to get it out and mess with it first. I was debating leaving it in the box, and then I was like, nope, that's not who I am. I gotta get out the toy and I gotta play with it, especially Jurassic Park. I'm a big fan of Jurassic Park, dinosaurs in general. So this set is the only crossover I'll probably review that's been revealed thus far. I didn't care about any of the rest of the franchises enough to get them, but this one I did. And here we have the box, and anyone who's seen a review for this before or images knows that you've got your Autobot over here, and it's the uprighted car, the Ford Explorer, and then Rexy is over here, posed in the box to be standing on this cardboard version of the flipped over car. And that's basically how you would see them packaged. On the box you've got your Transformers crossover with your Jurassic Park symbol up here, more Jurassic Park down here. You've got the names. The Rexy is a Decepticon, she is called Tyranicon Rex, and the Ford Explorer for the tour is called Autobot JP93, referencing Jurassic Park and the year the movie, it was either the year it came out or the year it started production. I know it came out in the early to mid 90s, but if it came out in 93, then I was too busy paying attention to its release by trying to learn how to stand up and things like that. So here we have ages 8 plus Hasbro. You've got Transformers going down the side, flipping it up to the top here. We've got the big old Jurassic Park logo, just the text part, and then you've got Transformers Generations, Takara Tomy on the side. You've got, oh, this thing is so big, it's long. You've got the Jurassic Park logo again, and then you've got a picture there of the fence from the film with the warning for electrocution. Then on the back you've got a little story in multiple language about what is happening in this scenario. And then you've got Universal, and there's Elliot on his bike with ET. Some more text here. You've got a barcode. You've got the Ford licensed product because it is an official licensed Ford Explorer. You've got more scenery, T-Rex footprint, another crossover symbol, and then on the other side here is the same image of the fence with the warning. And then bumping stuff on my table over here. On the bottom of the box, flip it over, it goes this way. On the bottom of the box you can see where I got it, what it was priced at, and then you've got what it includes, and then you've got some more, like a license plate and some tire tracks, which is kind of what is visible on the inside. And that's it for the box. I'm not throwing this box, I'm going to keep it, because if I do decide to store them, I'm going to store them in the box. And with the box out of the way, we'll go ahead and bring the figures in a second. Alrighty, and if you'll notice out of the box, I do have them in their robot modes because I believe their alt modes are the iconic part that people are going to buy the set for, which was my reasoning specifically, because I want, the second that I got a hold of the Leader Class Megatron, I was like, you know what, this would make a great T-Rex from Jurassic Park. And they were doing the crossovers at the time, and I was like, I wonder. And then the set came out, and I was like, yes, T-Rex. And I was like, oh, cool, transforming Jurassic Park car. I don't even care what it looks like. But so I'm very excited to have them. Before I get started on the details and stuff, I want to apologize. There's some construction going on, like 3 houses away from me, so I can hear drilling and hammering occasionally, and I don't know if it's going to come across on my microphone because I have the gain down now, and I moved it closer to me so I can see what it sounds like versus the review for Drag Strip, because that one sounded off because I was trying something different. I'm going to keep trying different positions until I find an audio sound that I like. With all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at these guys. The first one I'm going to take a look at is actually going to be Autobot JP93 over here, so we'll go ahead and give him a zoom in and look at some of his details up close. His hat kind of resembles the hat of Robert Muldoon, the shooter guy, if you guys have watched the film and don't know names. He also got his face nom-nommed by a velociraptor. But that is kind of what his hat's modeled after. You can see the Jurassic Park logo there on the chest, and part of it on the doors for where it fits in vehicle mode. You've got lots of nice red striping going down the vehicle chassis, hood, bumper area for when he is a Ford Explorer. The front, you've got all the lights painted, the grille parts painted, the molded black kind of cage around it. The lights on it aren't painted up here, which is kind of a shame. But hold on a second, I'm gonna move you off to the side. I feel like the camera is having a fit. There's 2 of you on screen at different distances. The limbs are completely black for the arms, no paint whatsoever, and that's a shame, but it is nice color breakup, to be honest, because there's a lot of green on here. So if the arms were just green, it would look very much like Drag Strip, kind of just too monochromatic, which works for some characters, but you need some accent paint. I still would have liked to see some green accent paint or maybe red accent paint on the arms, but I digress. Here we have him in the waist section. He is hollow underneath, just to the way the arms tuck in vehicle mode. There's an open space for that, but unless you're looking at him right up his front side, it's not going to bother you too much. It doesn't bother me too much. It might bother you too much. I don't know you or how you work. Here we have his legs with more of that red paint in the green paint because it's transparent plastic, which bothers a lot of people, and I could understand why. And for most vehicles, I don't care that the windows are clear. I'd rather have them be like a black plastic with paint, or black paint on plastic. But especially with the roof sections on this, I wanted it to be clear just because it's more authentic to the film. And then his feet are kind of made up of roof sections there, and then you've got the yellow stripe going down the bottom of the vehicle. The rest of that logo we saw on his wings. You've got number 4, because this was the number 4 car. There are multiple cars. You got the tail light there, a bit on the knee, and then the tires have that nice yellow paint. They are nice. They're not pinned. They're still the clip tires, but at least the clip is on the inside, so that way it looks nice from this side at least. The legs are a little hollow in the bottom, but not too bad. Kind of par for the course for some of these deluxe size figures. And then going up the back here, you have the front windshield and some of that clear roof I was talking about, with the front mirrors and a little bit of the rear mirror, or not mirrors, I mean the mirrors are there, but I meant to say the front windows and a little bit of the rear windows there, and a tiny smidgen of hood, but it's a pretty clean back for just a car panel on his back. It sits securely and nicely. It's not flopping around, and it's one piece of car instead of an entire car crumbled up back there, which is the thing that annoys me most about backpacks, like Sideswipe from Revenge of the Fallen from the Studio series, and to a lesser extent the Dark of the Moon version. Like, the entire alt mode shell is just crumpled in like 2 or 3 pieces on top of each other like a sandwich onto the back, and that kind of bothers me. As far as accessories go, he's the only one that comes with one. It is a little gun modeled sort of like the gun that Muldoon was using to hunt the raptors. It's very shotgun-esque to me, but my wife didn't think it was a shotgun based on the distance he was trying to shoot the raptors at. I'm not a gun enthusiast, neither is she, but to my knowledge there are some shotguns that sacrifice spread for range, depending on the length of the barrel, but like I said, not knowledgeable. If you know more about guns than I do, go ahead and drop a comment. So he can hold it as you saw, but you can also store it in robot mode. There is a tab on the window here that helps it peg in vehicle mode, but you can also take this slot on the gun, it's on either side, and you can actually plug it into that tab, and then he can have the gun stored back there in robot mode, which is pretty neat. And then before we move on to Tyranicon Rex, we'll go over his articulation. His head is just on a mushroom. Oh no, there's some up and down in there. Is there tilt? It might be a ball joint. It's really hard to see in there because his neck is molded almost right from the bottom of the head to the base of the figure. So I honestly thought it was just like a swivel, but it looks like it could be a ball peg in there. So you get the tiniest bit of down and up. You get a full 360 in theory, but his chin does meet this part of his back, so you're only going to get that far. But honestly, bending even this far, you'll probably break yourself. So you don't need even that much. There's not really too many tilty tilts on the side of the head, but that's okay. You have universal shoulders. The wings, this is as far back as they go. So in order to do a full 360, you got to rotate it out, but that's accurate to human anatomy. You have a ball joint at the elbow that works as your bicep swivel, and the wrists move in for transformation purposes, and that is their only movement. On a deluxe, it's disappointing, but not game-breaking. What is, however, a massive disappointment is that they did not work a waist swivel in. They could have put a cut right under this section here, so that it could spin on top of the hip assembly. There's nothing in there preventing them from doing it aside from laziness, because nothing tabs into it or anything. They just didn't feel like molding two pieces and connecting them together like the split at the thigh is molded. They could have done something similar here. Speaking of the thigh and the hips, they're on ball joints, so you can get out almost 90 degrees, decent spread there. You can go back. We're going to bump into the gun, so I'm just going to put it on the table for now. You can go back this far before you hit the backpack, and he can kick forward a little past 90, like a smidge past 90. You do have that cut at the thigh swivel that I mentioned. I just unplugged his backpack, so we'll go ahead and plug that back in real quick. So you've got the swivel, 360 swivel at the thigh. His knees bend here, and due to transformation, he can get as much knee as your knee could possibly need to move. And then for the feet, he just has an ankle rocker. It does kind of snap into place for vehicle mode, and it's not the widest, but it does get you a decent amount of tilt there in the ankle, enough for me anyway. And that is your lot on Autobot JP93. So we'll go ahead and put his gun mag in hand and set him off to the side and bring in Tyranicon Rex. Gonna zoom out real quick because we're gonna do just one size comparison here in robot mode, and that is going to be between Tyranicon Rex herself and the OG mold namesake, the Beast Wars from Kingdom Megatron, and there they are together. And what a difference a paint job makes. They don't have a lot of paint, we'll go over that later, but there's not a lot of paint on the robot bits on Tyranicon Rex, because they used a lot of the paint budget to get that nice dinosaur paint job going on, which is more involved than Megatron's. Unfortunately, one won't see it because I don't want to transform 2 of these guys. I have limited time. I work 56 hours a week. And I've already got to try and transform 2 different things on camera. I was contemplating skipping the Tyranicon Rex, but I decided I'd do it because we're going from robot to dino instead of dino to robot. But there you have them together, and they almost look like they have different body shapes just from the paint jobs. Like, I feel like Tyranicon Rex kind of looks slimmer because it just has the black stripe in the middle, and Megatron looks beefier because you got that paint that draws your eyes to the shoulders, and they're really wide, and all that paint down on the legs and stuff. So I feel like he just looks like a bigger, more imposing figure, and Tyranicon Rex just kind of looks like it's more slender, and since it's a female, that kind of makes sense in my brain. I don't know if I'm crazy or if you guys can see it too, but there you've got them posed together. So we'll go ahead and put the Dino Yes Man himself off to the side and bring her in for some close-up work. The only thing that is molded differently is this head sculpt. I do have some problems with it. It kind of doesn't want to sit center on mine. It always wants to tilt off to one side or the other, and then due to the way it transforms, or at least the way it was transformed when she was in packaging, if you fall back on it gets real loose on the ball joint if her head goes back, and it has a tendency to click back after you make her look up too far. Other than that, there's no real issues on this thing. It's nice and holds its poses when it is not looking straight up. As far as details go, I like the head sculpt. The red visor paint is nice, but it's the only paint on it, and that's a little sad. But like I said, most of her paint is for dinosaur mode. On the chest, we just have that black section in the middle that's painted. Like I said, to me it just kind of gives her a slimmer appearance. I just wish it kind of continued down here into the waist region, which is weird because this is painted red, so they could have like just painted the flares and then maybe like this diamond here red and just left most of it black. But these hip panels are all red, so they decided to just paint it that way, and that's fine. Coming down to the legs, I'll go ahead and move her arms out of the way. I wanted to show her off and then do the details so I didn't have to repose it. I'll go ahead and turn these to the proper orientation, get them spread out. The legs have no paint, and this little hip flap, the side gun, the flesh flap on the outside of it is kind of folding away, which is unfortunate again, but it's not a deal breaker. The dinosaur mode still looks as together as it originally did in that area, which is not super together, but we'll get into that later. And then you've got the dino legs down here, and there you can see the paint coming through really good. You've got nice fading from the color of the plastic, which is a really great choice for this character. And you've got the toes are painted, and the actual claws themselves are molded in a separate color that kind of is an extension of that gradient almost, and it just looks really nice. Coming back up to the arms, you can see the underbelly paint versus the plastic that the skin tone is. Nice striping with the brown in between. The eyes have the pupils. The inside of the mouth is painted. Look at the tongue in this little skin flap that the T-Rex has. And you've got the outside of the gums below the teeth painted. And, you know, so you've got the paint around the eyes. I can't tell if it's just the molding or if there's actually paint in that nose even, just to make it dark and stand out. And then over here on the tail side, you've got more of the striping and the underbelly paint. So yeah, this thing looks really great as a dinosaur, which is a contributing factor to why I'm going in this direction again, because it might never be a robot after this review. Again, it'll just be a dinosaur. And then of course you've got the big old backpack with the arms that I like to tuck in like that for this version, going down the back of the figure. There's not a lot of paint on the back here of the figure. except for where it's going to be in robot mode. So, or I guess I should say dino mode. I'm so used to going the other way around. As far as posability, we kind of talked about the head a little bit, and that's pretty much all I have to say about it. It's a ball joint, but it doesn't really do any tilties. You can't really look down because it likes to spring back, and if you look up too far, it becomes very susceptible to wibbles. The shoulders are on universals, and like with everything with a backpack, you gotta kind of move the arm out to get all the way around, but you can. You've got a bicep swivel on each side, and you've got an elbow on each side. To me, I would have liked the elbow to bend so that way the head could be sideways like this. When I was pointing it up, that's just, I think it looks weird when you point it up like this, or and you can't really bend it with the head facing up, so you gotta like turn the whole head up because you only get a little bit of bend in this direction. So to me, that's just weird that the bend is made so that the head is upside down, especially because when you're bending the elbow, the arm is not complete anymore. The arm is complete in this direction. So a really weird choice, but that's a mold choice, not this figure's fault. And then of course you can open the T-Rex mouth as wider than it's going to naturally open, and you know, so you can make it take a big old bite out of stuff like so. And then the only difference in posability over here is that the elbow is oriented so that it bends when the arm is, you know, like flush with itself. And you've got this weird bend at the wrist that serves, oh, I hurt myself. You've got a weird bend at the wrist that serves literally no purpose for the transformation. It doesn't look good, and the fact that they molded in that as a separate piece is really weird, and I don't know. And then you've got the little pincer claw that opens on this side, and this part can move and spin because it's transformation and articulation in dino mode. Tyranicon Rex has the waist swivel. Doesn't go all the way around, but it goes around enough, and it has it, so that's nice. Go ahead and put his arms up, her arms up. You can get that far with the hips, but if you were to pull out the side gun and put it in dino mode, you could get the hips up a lot farther to get the pose you want, with a little bit of finagling there. It can go back pretty much all the way without running into too much kibble, and if I rotated these up, it could probably go even a little farther. We'll go ahead and rotate this one out to the side. Yeah, just a smidge farther, but that's how I have the kibble oriented on her versus Megatron's being faced up. And then for forward, it goes about 90 degrees. You've got a nice 90-degree knee bend. There isn't really a thigh swivel, but there is a swivel down here at the knee that you can utilize as your thigh swivel. And if I'm constantly getting things to the right side of the screen, it's because I'm still working around this giant freaking ring. I really need to get a new tripod stand for my phone. And then at the feet, they can bend forward, they can bend backwards, and you do have an ankle tilt there. So decent articulation for a leader-sized creature. And that is basically it for robot mode for the pair of them. We'll go ahead and zoom back out and get them both in frame here. And then we'll go ahead and transform Tyranicon Rex first, because it's going to be the more familiar one. And then we'll transform JP93 second, because it will be the new guy on the block. My button keeps falling asleep. I'm gonna eventually stop using it. Just use my screen. Alrighty. Starting off transformation here with Tyranicon Rex. I just kind of get the arms more into their final configuration for Dino mode by putting the head so that the bottom of the neck lines up with the bottom of the jaw. The tail I leave flipped around for the time being as far as this swivel goes, because I'll swivel it into place later, but we are going to fold this in here, and then there's a tab on this flap It's going to go into the slot. And the same thing on the back of the arm here. You've got your tab and your slot. Another difference between Megatron and her I want to point out real quick is on the arm, my Megatron's back flap wouldn't bend the proper direction at all, and I didn't want to force it, but hers both bend back like this the way they're supposed to. So that was nice. I don't know if my Megatron is just weird, or if they fixed that issue with this release, or if, like I said, I could have just got unlucky with him and lucky with her. Either way, we're going to fold them in and tab them in. There's also a tab up here on the front that is going to go into a little notch right in there. Let me see if I zoom in, if we can see it right. And bumping the ring right in there. So we'll go ahead and zoom back out. Gosh darn it, camera. Cooperate. So we got that side tabbed in. We'll go ahead and tab in the other side there. All nice and secure. Rotate the tail tip around so that way the details line up. And like I said, I'm going to leave this folded around for the time being. Go ahead and put your other side gun down, because I never put this one back up from Articulation. So there. Now that is a completed leg transformation for the time being. We're going to go ahead and fold this flap up and get the arms out of there. If you don't put them in there, then this is unnecessary, but I like to. And then I'm going to very carefully untab this back section because my Megatrons broke. Okay, good. They're both still intact. And you're going to fold it down on this strut hinge, whatever you want to call it. And then right now, before I get too far ahead of myself, these hip sections back here, let's fold up and take a closer look, are on sliding rails on the inside for the articulation and dyno mode. I'm going to go ahead and just put them in the middle somewhere. Stay. Stay, girl. Stay. And just leave them that way for now. We're going to go ahead and fold these wing flaps out and into place, so that way the backside body panels start to line up. Then these panels right here are spring loaded, so I'm not going to really bother with them until well, let's see. I wonder if I could somehow finagle them to get stuck behind this, or you know what, even less complicated, we'll fold them back and just kind of lock them into place with the hands there. Then they'll stay out of our way. Go ahead and turn the head down, and when I had it out of the box, it was turned around like that, so I didn't look at the instructions. I'm bumping the camera. We're going to go ahead and dislodge the waist here. It clips around this section for robot mode, and then in dyno mode we're going to clip it into this tab. So this tab is not used for robot mode. That tab goes into this clip on the side here. So we're going to go ahead and tilt the entire torso back. Make sure my arms are up, which this one is not. It's getting caught. We're going to fold this section of the torso back up and spin it, so that way this clip is facing the tab. And then we're going to go ahead and leave that for a second. Come up here to the head, and the panel that it is on will untab or unclip or unthoop and fold into the cavity of the chest, like so. And then before I peg these in, I want to get to the legs down here, and we're going to give them a tug just to get a little gap going on in here. I'm trying to film around the tail. You know what, I'll turn that back real quick so that way I can do this, get a little gap going. And then this was super scary to separate, both on her and Megatron. Megatron's loosened up over time, but I've only transformed this Tyrannosaurus Rex once. Oh yeah, very scary connection in there. You've got two giant clips, and you're gonna rotate these out on hinges and swoop them back up to the side like this, so that they are in dyno orientation. Then we'll swing the torso back around, and the spring-loaded panels decided to come untethered and join us here. And then we're going to rotate down and clip that gray clip over the tab here. If I can get the legs out of the way. Nothing's cooperating with me today. And the head folded back out even. Wonderful. Alright, so we've got all that clipped into place. We're going to go ahead and rotate the legs forward. And then we're going to rotate the figure down because we're starting to become vaguely dino shaped here. We'll go ahead and we'll leave that folded up for now. And we're going to leave the chest as it is for now because we're going to connect the hips first. You've got tab here and a tab here, and they're going into a slot here and a slot here. So we'll go ahead and tab those in. My loving wife who bought me these and my two tiny humans are in the kitchen. They're knocking on the door, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording real quick. Alrighty, and we are back basically where we left off. Like I said, they're out there getting food, so you'll probably hear them talking. My eldest tiny human, my daughter, is coughing and sick, and my son had the cough and it still does a little bit, so that's unfortunate for my baby humans. I don't like it when they're sick. But since I'm working in the afternoons now, it gives them the opportunity to see me in the morning. So that is kind of nice. We're going to go ahead and fold the leg flaps down around the side gun things. And like I said, the one that's weird doesn't look that weird because it's not a perfect fit anyway. At this point, I'm going to rotate the tail into place, so that way it wasn't in the way while I was lining all that up. Is basically why I don't rotate it into place earlier. And then we're going to take our spring-loaded panels and just kind of move them up so we can start folding the body together. There is anyone who's had this mold at all knows that most of the outside is a rubbery kind of bendable plastic, nice kind of skin texture plastic. And these don't line up as nice on this one as they did on Megatron, but that's okay with me. So we'll go ahead and fold this up and fold this down. You just want to kind of make sure that the pieces of the skin plastic aren't hanging on each other. There is a tab. Let me see if I can zoom in here. There is a tab on the back side of that does tab into this, and that should help it stay together, but I keep missing it on her. Let me give it another try. If not, I'll have to clean it up later. Yeah, I can't get that tabbed in right now, so we'll go ahead and clean it up later. And then I'll just stay zoomed in for the rest of this. We're going to tab the torso, or see, that's why I wasn't zoomed in. I'm filming the foot, dang it. We're going to tab the body section into each other. There's two tabs, and then there's two tabs on the bottom of the body section that peg into this area at the waist of the dino. That was the shoulder armor on the tail arm. It's not a perfect fit, but it does go in somewhat. And then get your arms oriented, and then just kind of push your head back and line it up with this flap, and then the spring-loaded flaps just kind of fill in there. I like the attempt, but they don't really work that well at what they do because they're kind of flared out too far, and I'd rather just move them as needed instead of them being spring-loaded. But there is Tyranicon Rex as a Tyrannosaurus Rex, the Tyrant Lizard King, aka Rexy from Jurassic Park. We'll go ahead and set her off to the side over here, hopefully out of the way of the camera, and we'll bring in JP93 here and go over his transformation, which I probably will zoom in for. Go ahead and take his gun out of his hand and put it down. I was debating on playing a game on my channel called Let's See How, long we can keep the gun on the figure before we have to set it down. So I was going to plug it in here and try and keep it on until I could plug it into its vehicle mode storage spot, but I'm not going to fight with that right now. So we're going to go ahead to its feet and just clip those ankles into place. Before you tab the legs together, you want to come down to the feet, and there is a little plastic tab down here that's kind of holding this panel of the foot in place, and you kind of want to flex it out a little bit and fold it up. Flex it out a little bit and fold it up. It's a little scary, it's clear plastic, I know, but it's not too bad. And then go ahead and start lining this up and tabbing it all together here at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and straighten out these thighs real quick. I don't know if it's going to help with the stability, but I like aesthetically that they are straight. There are 2 tabs here on this roof section, and we're going to fold this up and tab them in. They kind of pop out on mine. Sometimes it'll hold, as you can see, but they do kind of pop up. I give them a good squeeze and they stay on decent. But then next thing we want to do is unpeg the back, which it just did for me. There is a little clear plastic tab here that is going into that extended green piece to hold it in place. So we're going to untab that, and then you have to get this hood flap up. If you can get under there and get it, that's great for you, but unfortunately with the way my nails are, I can't get under there and get it. So I will take his gun and I will stick it up through and pop it up like so, and then go ahead and untab this section. There is a slot right here where my thumbnail is that tabs onto this tab here in the chest. Go ahead and fold that up, and you want to make sure that you fold this back down because there are tabs on here that are going to sit under this hood section that was on the back. So we're going to fold that down, rotate the arms up at the shoulder, and fold his hands in. In order to get his hands back out, there is a little plastic nub here that you just kind of scrape at until the hand pops out, and then you just roll it out and clip it into place if you want to get his hands back out. So there. We'll go ahead, and the tires kind of lock it in place, as well as it sliding over this section here. Almost kind of like a drop kick from the Bumblebee movie look here with the tires. So we'll fold those down about halfway for now, and this is folding itself back down. Then we're going to fold this section forward and then use those knees to rotate the back of the car into place and just kind of make sure that it's all sitting as far as it'll go in that knee bend to get your rear vehicle together. And then you're going to want to take that tab that was holding the gun, and it will tab into or underneath something in there, and that's okay. We'll bend it down so it just kind of fits under this lip here. We'll tab it into place, and then the hood section is going to line up together and clip into place. We can finish rotating the wheel sections down into place. For the arms, you fold at the elbow and just tuck them up inside where you'd expect the seats to be. You can angle them out to the side and then roll them in like that if you'd like, and just kind of push them in. They don't lock in anywhere, but they're going to be up in there. They're going to be secure. They're not falling out. And then we can go ahead and shut the doors, and then I give them a little push just to kind of line everything up, because there is a tab on the clear plastic section, and there's a little green tab. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little green tab right there. So you just kind of get it under there and then get those squoze in together from underneath. And there you have your Ford Explorer from Jurassic Park. And you can store the weapon one of 2 ways, so we'll show that off real quick. You can take this thin piece of plastic on the top of the gun, and there are 2 little slots up here that you can plug it into, so he can be roof shooting, which I never like on Transformers for the most part, and I don't want to end up scraping red paint out of there in the long run, so I prefer to store it in the superior. Oh, there's a dog barking. Sounds like my Australian Shepherd. We'll go ahead and store it in the preferred place. There's a tab down here. There is a slot in the gun. We'll go ahead and marry those up, and there is the gun stored underneath the car. We'll give you a look at the underneath of the vehicle while we're at it. You can see he's got visible head syndrome, even though his shoulders try to hide it. But there you have him in his alt mode. We'll go ahead and set him down, and we'll get a look at these guys next to each other, so you can see how big they are compared to each other. And so I like that scale for the T-Rex next to the car. I think it looks very nice. Judging by the size of the car, it's pretty close to what it should be. If anything, it might be a little small, but not enough for me to care, because it's Jurassic Park and I love it anyway. I'm going to move the T-Rex back off to the side real quick. There's one size comparison I'm going to do in vehicle mode, literally just because I had it out and I haven't really talked about this figure that much. So it's going to make no sense to any kind of reason other than the fact that it's my favorite figure ever. But here he is next to my Black Apple Wei Zhang Masterpiece movie Optimus Prime. So it's definitely not a masterpiece scale vehicle, and Rexy is definitely too small for a vehicle of this caliber. She should be able to fit most of a person in her mouth, and the person that would be climbing in and out of this truck would be too big for that, aka toilet guy. And so there you have a way too big semi truck that I'm just putting out here because it's pretty, next to JP93. It's also a vehicle that I had nearby. Put that back on the table. And we'll go ahead and take a look at Tyranicon Rex, aka Rexy, first. A lot of the paint on the head we've seen, but we'll show it off again briefly. He's got nice yellow eyes with black pupils. They can't paint too much detail in there, so I think that's as close to movie accurate as they're going to get. The painters on this are probably not as dedicated, or they didn't have the budget to go full-on SH Monster Arts eyeball paint, but it's good enough for me. There she is from the direct front. Coming down the back, you can see that striping and fading continues down the back. A little bit of, hinges and stuff of different colors back here. And the hips like to pop out. They did on my Megatron too, but it goes all the way down to the end. No real areas of breakup as far as them just being too lazy to paint it. It's all painted apart from hinges that are in it. And this gap here is here as well. But then coming to the front of the arms and the legs, you've got this nice paint that resembles the brown up here. The legs are lighter, but that paint that was on the front of the legs is matched going up here, and then you've got a couple of spots even just for some details. Either that or it is actually a paint mishap, but I kind of like that it's there. It gives it some character. This side doesn't seem to have it, so that might be likely. And then you've got the underside all in one color, which is how Megatron was. So this is pretty similar to him, other than the color they used is lighter tan than Megatron's. And then her little claws up on her fingers are painted as well. And these ones down here were molded. As far as articulation goes for her, you can open her jaw way wider than you need to, but a nice natural wide roaring. You can tell by just stretching it out until that's fully extended without leaving really a gap in there. And that's her nice roar. You can tilt the head up and down a bit on this hinge up here, and then you've got the hinge for the elbow in robot mode, which might be why it is the way it is, but I still wish it had a longer range, especially because you can still see the hinge up there anyway. It's not like they were able to hide it, and that's why the range is minimized. The head can move side to side on that elbow joint as well. And then, like I said, these spring-loaded flaps do move in and out, but they're not totally effective, and I would rather just move them myself, like this one. Get the head in position, and then you've got to line that up. So why not just make it so that you can line all three flaps up without the annoyance of the spring-loaded ones in the robot mode and transformation. But then you've got ball joints, her little arms here at the top, so you can move them out and in, and they can rotate all the way around with her little nubs of arms. And then the hips are a special case. They have that strut in there that lets you move them so far forward, or so far backwards, I should say. I was looking at the top of it. And then so far forward for the leg. It works adequate enough, and at least it has some kind of articulation. A lot of the times dinosaur hips are just kind of fused in place in these tabs. They needed to be clips or something. They like to come untabbed. There's no real outward movement to the hips. You can get a little bit just by moving the leg out and it kind of flexing into this, but when you move it in, you get the gaps here. So you want to count that, be my guest. It's not anything amazing. Then from here down, you've got the same articulation as robot mode. So you've got the swivel at the knee, the bend at the knee, the bend at the foot, and the tilt at the foot. And then for the tail, you can kind of move it at the elbow here, more to one side than the other. And then you can waggle this part too, side to side, and it is rotationable for the transformation. So you can get her tail in a nice angled position, and then angle her head this way and tilt it up a bit and get that jaw working for you. Go ahead and plant one foot forward, tilt the leg out a bit, and get one foot planted behind. And there you've got a pretty nice roar pose going on for her. And that's it really for Tyranicon Rex, aka Rexy. So we'll go ahead and move her off to the side and go over JP93's posability. He can do this. This is his poses. He's got 4 different swivels. So you got a swivel here, swivel here, swivel here, swivel here. And you get them all working together, and he rolls. Look at that. And it's pretty smooth for the clipped-on wheels. And that's basically it for his articulation, unless you want to count opening half the door. I mean, if you got it from the right shot, you could just pretend the window was down and the door was open, but that's about all the use you're going to get out of those. Other than that, you've got the nice logo here on the side. It is got a kind of a wonky gap between the P and the arc for when it opens. Same thing on the other side, but it's between the Jur and the ASIC. And then, as we discussed in the vehicle mode or robot mode at various points, you've got this nice red striping going down the length of the car, with some of the green painted in and some of it being molded plastic. All in all, it does look pretty close together, especially with all the different colors. You've got the yellow down here running the length of the vehicle. You got the yellow on the tires, and there's just so much nice visual stuff going on. Also, you know, if you've got the nostalgia goggles like me, you're just like, it's the Jurassic Park car, and any kind of differences in the green. Like here, you can see there are probably 2 different shades. It's showing up on camera better than it's showing up to my eyeballs, because my eyeballs just see Jurassic Park car. Coming around to the back, you can see that they've got this nice tinted window plastic. At least it's tinted and not just totally clear. And then you've got the black painted plastic on the back, which, like I said previously, I would prefer most vehicles to just have black painted windows or black plastic with paint on it. I would say paint the windows, because one, it's going to be less paint than painting whole panels, and 2, then you can actually mold all the panels in the same color. But that's just me. You might like your clear windows, and that is fine. Your opinion is valid, and I'm not dogging it at all. We're going to go ahead and try and zoom in here so we can see the details on the back. Bumping the camera. You've got the rear lights painted in red with the black outlining. You can see Explorer there, XLT. The E in the end of is a little blurred out. My wife kind of pointed that out when she got him out of the box, because she likes to help me get him out of the box, which is why I don't do a lot of unboxings, because she is not thrilled about Transformers in general, but she does know they make me happy and does like to unbox them for me. You've got a windshield wiper there that's painted in, and then you've got a little circular symbol, alveolar symbol over here. I can only assume that is the Ford symbol without the Ford on it. And you've got a little button back there and a little handle for opening the car. That circle underneath the handle is probably a keyhole. Got the painted yellow bumper, like I said, going around. You've got door handles on all 4 doors that are molded in. The wheels, like I said, they look really nice, especially because they've got the pins on the inside, so you get that nice clean look on the outside at least. You've got side view mirrors, no paint on them, but they are molded in. Plus, even though these ones don't have paint, you do have one kind of floodlight here on the hood that's got paint on it. It's got the red and then the silver on the front, so that's pretty cool. You've got the nice clear roof, iconic to the film, up there. And so all this is basically painted from the top. Then you've got your nice Jurassic Park logo on the front. You got more painted windshield wipers. That's my corgi barking. And then the front of the car we basically saw in robot mode, so I'm not going to go over it too much. And it just looks really, really nice. So there you have the set of them, and we'll go right into our final thoughts here. And my final thoughts are that I love this thing and no one can tell me otherwise, and that while there are some flaws, most of the flaws are with the robot mode of Tyranicon Rex, and most of them are issues with the mold itself, not exactly this figure. So they are issues that you're mostly going to have if you have the Megatron 2, minus the head tilting back, making the ball joint super loose, because Megatron's head can't tilt back that far. And I'm not sure why they made Tyranicon Rex's tilt back that far, considering her head isn't really that much taller than Megatron's when I had them side by side, which was my original theory. I have no faults really with JP93, other than the fact that the clear plastic is a mild concern if you were going to transform it a lot, like I probably am. And the waist swivel not existing is literally pure unadulterated laziness, especially at the price point this thing comes in at. It's a leader figure and a deluxe figure, which here in the States is basically a $70 price between the two of them. And on the box, I think my wife got this, it was priced at $104.99 US. And like I said, she got it on sale, so it ended up being like $75 because she had some coupons and stuff and traded in some things because she got it at GameStop, which I was surprised to see because I almost never get these exclusives where I live. I usually have to drive half hour, 45 minutes away to find anything. But so yeah, for an increase of $35 in my case, but in some cases it sold for like $140, which is like double the price that these two figures would be worth normally separately. There should have been a waist swivel there. I understand that a lot of that price went into getting the licensing for the crossover, and there's a lot of good paint budget going on here, but that waist swivel I don't think would have been too hard. Other than that, all positives. I love the way they look in both modes. Tyranicon Rex is lacking on the paint and robot mode, but I forgive it because of how good the dinosaur mode looks. JP93's paint carries over from the vehicle mode in a lot of places, so that kind of saves his robot mode. Apart from the arms, could use some accent paint of some kind, maybe some silver or some yellow or red or green. Maybe even put a couple of Jurassic Park logos on the shoulders or forearms instead of like an Autobot logo, which I don't think they actually have faction symbols on them, come to think of it. So the only way you know what they are is because the box tells you that Tyranicon Rex is a Decepticon and Autobot JP93 is an Autobot that's going to track it down and put it back in containment. If you read that little story by pausing the video. So yeah, if you don't want to risk the clear plastic, or you don't want to buy the set because you're not interested in getting another Megatron mold, or you don't want to buy it because the price isn't enough for you to go ahead and purchase it, then that's completely fine. Your reasons are valid for the ones I listed and more, but to me, to have two parts of my childhood that I really liked come together in this way, I really was disappointed I was going to have to pass it up. And then my wife found a copy of it and we got it, so I'm super happy about that, super thankful for that. I think I've shouted her out like 4 times in this video, so have another one, so that way you know how much I appreciate it, because it's easier for me to articulate things like that when I'm talking into this camera. For some reason I'm very bad at talking feelings and appreciation in person, so hopefully she'll watch this and see all of these mentions. And with that, we'll go ahead and finish the episode up. Next week I'm hoping to continue on where I was going to today, with some deluxe class studio series. I've got a lot of figures in the pipeline that I ended up acquiring in my hiatus. I was going to shoot images of them all together in my direct strip video, and then I screwed that up. So coming down the line, we've got Studio Series Deluxe Brawn, Ratchet, and Wheeljack. We have Studio Series 86 Leader Dinobot Slug, but I'm probably going to call him Slag, no offense to my UK mates. And then we've got Leader Class Grindor, who I'm calling Dirty Blackout because I love Blackout. He's my favorite live action Decepticon from the Michael Bay films, as far as just because he's the first Transformer we ever saw in live action. He kicks a lot of ass and I just really like his design, so he's been my favorite. So he's Dirty Blackout with Ravage, and I got him because I sold my Blackout off in the hopes I'd find a Grindor because the hands could pose. That's literally, I'm so shallow, but that's my reasoning. And then after I got Grindor, of course, they announced the Masterpiece. So now I'm just like, I should have just waited for the Masterpiece, but it's probably going to be overpriced. So I'm going to have to wait for the Masterpiece and then wait for the oversized $100 version of that Masterpiece. Speaking of which, I ended up selling my MPM 10, I want to say it was 10 Starscream that I had, which I hadn't gotten to review yet, but it is because I got the KO oversized Revenge of the Fallen tattooed paint job version, so when that comes we'll be taking a look at it too. I also got a set of KO New Age Seeker molds. They're almost the same, except for kind of the landing gear, I think, doesn't work the same for the back of the jet, but most of it is the same. They also have some upgrades pre-installed to them that you could buy for the New Age Seekers. And that is about everything I've got coming through. And then after that, if I haven't got anything else, we'll go back to reviewing my old things in a semi-randomly ordered fashion. And I will hope to see you in those videos as well. So until next time, go ahead and check out my playlist and social media accounts linked in the description below. Go ahead and like the video if you liked what you saw. Go ahead and subscribe if you want to see more things. And I will see you guys in the next episode of